nature of the self or Brahman and nature of an enlightened being, a Jivan Mukta, both are the same. We talk of Brahman as an impersonal thing, and when we speak of a Jnani, we think of him as the body. It is not true. Both are the same. Once a person gets enlightened, he becomes the impersonal absolute. So I have learnt about 400 verses of Sri Bhagavan's, and I am going to now talk about the essence that is contained in about 150 verses. I could have done it in one long video, but uploading problem is there, so I am going to split it again into 13, 14, 15 minutes, and it's going to be a series. Technically I have split it, but you can watch it continuously. You will have that impact. Right. What is enlightenment? What is Brahman? What is the self? And what are the qualities of an enlightened being? In Ulladhu Naarpadhu, verse 13, he says, Palandru Ari. He says that state of Jnanam, when the mind subsides fully, we might think there is nothing to experience. But he says, it is not a state of inert condition. It is not a brain dead or mind dead state. It is a state of knowingness, of not knowing anything else, knowing oneself. Knowing oneself is being oneself. So being in a state of bliss, existence, consciousness, bliss, that is Brahman. He says, Anigal Thampalavum, again from Ulladhu Naarpadhu, Anigal Thampalavum Ponnayendri Undo Pugal. This is an example, a very popular example from Vedanta. All the ornaments are made of gold. No ornament can be called an ornament if gold is not there. Of course, when it comes to golden ornaments, it is the gold which appears as all the ornaments. So, the same way, the another example was used. All the utensils made of clay are none but clay. So, all the gold ornaments made of gold is nothing but gold. So, what exists is only that Brahman. This universe, all these physical reality are just ornaments made out of that one Brahman. Ulladhu Naarpadhu 14, he says, Nigalvinai Patri Irappedir Nirpa, Nigalgal Avayum Nigalve, Nigalvonre Indru Unmai, Teradi Irappedir Theravanal, Undrindri Yenna Unal. See, what always exists is the present. That is the self. But if we switch to the mind, we will start experiencing thoughts. Once you experience thoughts, you start experiencing the past and the future. Because past and present, future don't exist. What always exists is only the present. In the past, when you think of that event, it also happened in the present only. In future, whatever you think of happening will happen only in the present moment. So, here the importance is the mind, the Jnani has switched off his mind, and hence there is no future for him, there is no past for him, only the present. That is Jnanam, that is enlightened state. In a state where there is no thought arising at all. In verse 15, Ulladhu Naarpadhu, he talks about Namandri Naledu Nadedu Nadungal, Namudambel Nal Natum Nampadubam, Namudambo, Nam Indru Andru Endrum Ondru, Nadu Ingu Angu, Engum Ondral, Namundu, Nalnadu, Ilanam. In the previous verse, he spoke about time. Now in this, he is talking about geography. There is no such thing as geography for a Jnani because the entire universe is contained in him. Because he is formless infinite. That absolute impersonal is nothing but the state of a Jnani, enlightened being. So he says there is no such thing as here, there, at a distance, nearby, there is no such thing. In a state of jnanam, one only exists. When ego arises, then you start thinking of this as a body. I am sitting here in Chennai, Tamil Nadu, India. You start thinking of yourself as sitting in America, and so on. The point is, with jnanam, with the jnani, there is no such thing as space, time. One only exists. There is no question of space, time at all. In verse 16, he talks about Udal Nane, Tanne Unararku Unarndarku, Udalave Nan, Tandunararku, Udalulle Tandunarndarku, Yellayara Tanolirum Naniduve, Innavardam Vedamana Yen. He says, for the unenlightened person, I means this body. And his experience is only to the limitation of the body. But Udalulle Tannunarndarku Yellayara Tanolirum Naniduve Innavardam Vedamana Yen. What is the difference between a jnani, an enlightened person, and unenlightened person? For the unenlightened person, the experience is limited to the size and capability of the body. But for the jnani, Udalulle Tannunarndarku, for that person who has realized himself within the body, Yellayara Tanolirum, it will shine forth without bounds, limitlessly, as one existence, consciousness, bliss. Ulaginukku, in the 17th verse of Ulladhu Naarpadhu, he says, Ulaginukku Adaramai Uruatru Aarum Unarndar Unmai. For those people, unenlightened people, for them the world is real, the universe is real, the body is real. But Udalulle Tannunarndarku, Ulaginukku Adaramai Uruatru Aarum Unarndar Unmai. For those enlightened people, they will not see the universe, material world. They will see its basis, the substratum. Ulaginukku Adaramai Uruatru Aarum. It will shine forth formlessly. It will shine forth formlessly and infinitely. That is the state of jnanam. That is the state of a jnani. Then, in verse 19, he says, Kanum Danavittu Tan Kadavulai Kanal Kanum Manomayamam Kachi. Tanaikanum Avandan, Tan Mudal Kadavul Gandan, Tan Mudale, Tan Mudal Poi, Tan Kadavul Andri Iladal. See, he says, somebody speaks of seeing the God, a vision of God. He says it is nothing but your mental projection. Then, what is the truth? What is real God? Tanaikanum Avandan Kadavul Gandana. One, he has realized his inner nature, his Brahman nature. Only he has seen God. When that ego disappears through vicharam, when he realizes himself, sees himself as one reality, only he has seen God. Those people who have dreamt of God, who have had visions, they are subject to the phenomenon of mental projections, he says. Tannaittan Ganal, in verse 20 he says, Tannaittan Ganal, Talevan Tannai Kanum, Talevan Tannai Kanal ennum Palanul Unmai Innai Enil, Tannaittan Kanalavan, Tanundral Kanavanadel, Talevan Ganalevan Unadal Kan. Here he is talking about the phenomenon of the ego getting devoured by Atma, swallowed by Atma. Says, Tannaittan Kanal, Talevan Tannai Kanal ennum Palanul Unmai Innai Enil. The scriptures say that only seeing oneself is equal to seeing God. Why is the Shastra scripture saying this? Why is it saying this? Because he says, if everything is one, who is there to see what? To see whom? Seeing presumes two. I see the camera. But everything is one. Who is there to see what? And hence he says, seeing God means becoming food to God, which means being food to Atma. Once you have been devoured, assimilated, are there two things? Once the river of individuality goes and merges in the ocean that Atma is, will there be anybody else left to experience anything else separately? No. Unadal Khan. So you become food to Atma. One Atma is there. Everybody is there in the world. If they all do Vicharam, if they drive back the ego to its source, they'll all be devoured. What will be left? Only one. Then verse 30, Ulladhu Naarpadhu says, நானாரண மனம் உள்ளாடி உளம் நன்னவே நானாம் அவந்தலை நாணமுற நான் நானா தோன்றும் ஒன்று தானாக தோன்றினும் நானன்று பொருள் பூன்றும் அது தானாம் பொருள். He is talking about the process of vicharam and self-enquiry. Every time a thought arises, if you search the source of the I thought, it will go and subside there. What will be left? Pundram adu. Thanam porul. A kind of spurana, pulsation will arise first. When the mind goes and subsides in its source, in that interregnum, a kind of spuranam, a palpable sensation, I, in the form of an electric current will emerge, will appear. That is not ego, he says. That is Punramadu, that is perfection, that is the self. Sri Bhagavan says, you stay with it sufficiently long, then it is the self. Now, this verse is from Ulladhu Naarpadhu Anubandham, supplement to Ulladhu Naarpadhu. எதன்கண்ணே நிலையாகி இருந்திடும் உலகமெல்லாம் எதனது எல்லாம் எதனின்று வனைத்துலகும் எழுமோ மற்றவையாவும் எதன் பொருட்டாம் இவ்வெல்லாமும் எதுவே ஆகும் அதுதானே உளப்பொருளாம் சத்தியமாம் அச்சரூபம் அகத்தில் வைப்பாம். எதன்கண்ணே நிலையாகி இருந்திடும் இவ்வுலகமெல்லாம், based on what the entire universe is resting. This is that Atman. This is the universe. Based on what the entire universe is resting. On what is the entire universe resting? Yadanadi ellam. This is the universe. Whose property is this? It is this property, Atma's property. Yadanindru vanithulagum elumo. From where do all these worlds emerge? From this only. From where do all these worlds emerge? Yadanindru vanithulagum elumo. Matrivayavum yadan poruttam. All this is for whose sake? The creation of the universe, its appearance, its subsistence, and then its death, pralayam. All this is for what? For whose fun? Atma's fun. Yadanali vayamalam elundidum. Because of whom do these worlds arise? These worlds, because of whom do they arise? They arise because of Brahman. Ivellamum eduve agum. All this physical universe which you are seeing, all the worlds, human beings, etc. What are they? They are none but Brahman. Says, Achurubam ahatil vaipam. Ivellamum eduve agum. Adudane ulla porulam. So what always exists is only Brahman. This is an appearance and disappearance phenomenon, including you, me, all the human beings, animals, stones, plants, stars, sky, everything. They are just a phenomenon of appearance on this surface of, on this consciousness screen of Satchit Anandam, Brahman. Now we will continue in video 2.